Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're making two graduation cards, a shaker card and a non-shaker card depending on your recipient. We're going to be using the Stamped Simply dies. I love these steel dies because I don't have to cut them apart. They're made in the USA and they cut so smoothly. Plus we'll be using the Echo Park paper pad, which is great because we will not have to use a stamp set with this. I'm going to show you this paper pad quickly. You can skip to the next chapter if you want to start learning how to make the shaker card, but what I love about this paper pad is it has sayings as well as designer paper. It has two of each and it allows me to make a card without having to stamp a sentiment. So let's get started with the shaker card. First, we'll make the background. Always cut off the little hole so that doesn't appear on your cardstock. And then just hand cut out your saying, like the tassel's worth the hassle. But there's also other sayings in this paper pack that you could use. I kind of like having that as my background because I think it's just going to be adorable. I will use my Altenew mat also to line up the tassel is the hassle because my card base is the actual size of my card, so I want to get the sentiment centered. And so we'll just use this mat and I can look at the lines and be able to line this up in the cardstock. We will make the front of the card with a pattern paper. We'll cut this down to 5.5 by 4.25. And then we will use our Altenew mat to line up our Hero Arts rectangle die to cut out the center. And I will be adhering this down using my Post-it note tape and running it through my. Once it's through the die cutting machine, I can remove the middle and use the middle for another project. And what happens is this makes the front window of our shaker card. We will turn this over and using double-sided tape, we will tape that around the base of the window so that we can put on a sheet of acetate. I love adhering it down with a double-sided tape because I know it's going to stay. If I have any tape left, I just put it back on the roller because I can use it for another project. And then I will remove the film on top of the double-sided tape and put on my embossing window plate. These you can emboss in, but what I love about it is they're cut to the right cardstock size. But I have made a mistake, so I'm just going to trim it off with my scissors. As crafters, we're not always perfect, but I think this is going to turn out to be such a fun shaker card. I also buy a huge roll of double-sided tape. I love this double-sided tape. We're going to be putting down 2 layers of this adhesive, but what I wanted to tell you is I love buying the big roll of adhesive for 3 reasons. The first is it saves me money. The second is I don't run out of adhesive in the middle of a project. And third, I can mass produce a lot of cards, or this really stretches and I can use it for a lot of cards. Plus, I can just put my adhesive back on top. Now we want to as a tip so that our sequences and stuff do not stick to the adhesive on the side. We're just using our embossing buddy here to make the adhesive negative on the sides. So that's a tip, and I do that between both layers. I have added 3 different shaker elements to my card. Of course, I missed the inside of the window, so I'm just picking those up. We'll be taking the adhesive off the back of our card so that we can line up our back piece. So I like to leave the shaker window laying down on the table so that I don't spill out the little shakers. And I apologize for the blurry video. But then it does get better as we go along. But next I'm going to adhere the back of this and make sure that it is lined up properly onto the card. And then make sure I put it down good. And here we go. We have our shaker. And I love it. Next, we're going to get our die cuts. I decided to die cut the hat twice, and I've also die cutted it in black and yellow. I'm going to use my little scissors and cut off the tassel so I can emphasize the tassel on the graduation cap. And so I will just paste that down, and that will emphasize my graduation tassel, because the inside of the card says the tassel is worth the hassle. These graduation cards are great for anyone graduating from high school or even college. It's just that time of year, the graduation time of year. I think it's one of my favorite times of the year. And then I'm just going to adhere this down. I'm going to use a piece of that foam tape that I used to make the shaker and just put that on the back as a quick pop-up piece, because I had this little piece left over when I cut it away inside of the card. I will use my scraps to make the inside of the card and use one of the little journal box cards as my sentiment. This saves me money and I don't need a stamp set. I also love how it just coordinates well with the front of the card, and I have plenty of room to sign. Our shaker card is now complete. So let's start on our non-shaker graduation card using some of our same supplies. Using my Sizzix star dies, I've cut a star out of holographic paper for both sides, as well as a star out of foam adhesive paper. The foam's going to act as a pop-up dot, and this is a sample of what it looks like with the adhesive. And I just run it through the machine and it cuts smoothly. Plus, I'll use the congratulations dot. When making this card, I first pulled out a pattern paper that was black with a subtle diamond background, because I didn't want to take away from the stars that were holographic. But I ended up changing the background and reusing the stars on that background. So in the comments below, you'll have to tell me which card you like better based on the background. I love this foam because it has that adhesive, and I can just center it up on the star. It's going to give the card a little dimension. And to stick my star that's the same size as the foam one cut, I'm using double-sided tape. I know this double-sided tape is very strong and it will stay on the card whenever the recipient receives it. I also just love how it gives that dimension with that pop-up phone. And I've cut out the congrats for the front. I will use my Xyron machine. I love this. It makes the congrats a sticker, and it's easier than putting adhesive on the back. And I will run this through the machine and it will come out as a sticker. I can peel this away and put it on the card, and it will be much simpler than trying to get adhesive on the back of every little letter. So here is the paper that I decided I liked better for the card to make it look more like a graduation card. And I love that it looks like everyone's thrown up their hats to celebrate the graduation day, and that the graduate with the stars is the star of the show. So I just tore off the bottom of this. You can see the paper on the back, and now I'm going to put it down with that same double-sided adhesive because I know that it's going to hold to the card, and just quickly assemble this other graduation card. That's quite simple and quick to make and would be quite easy to reproduce. Now it's time to go ahead and make the inside of our card. I'm just going to pull out the congratulations, you did it piece of paper here. I think it's going to be a great accent for the card. In the comments below, let me know which card you plan to try making. And thank you for stopping by. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks again.